this is gonna be fun.
So this is what I mean. It's two interviewers doing an interview.
Mm.
Hello and welcome to TT Conversations. I am your host, Abby Louise, and this week I am with Rassilon Productions / Ruaidhri Guest. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, that is me. I'm here.
You are here. Hello.
Yeah, it's good to be on a show that's not my own, or it's always nice to be on different shows and podcasts.
It's
So I'm
so
looking forward to
weird.
this conversation.
I was on
Mm.
Chambers's and Emily's Ghost podcast the other day as a guest, and I was literally like, I feel really strange because I'm usually the one asking all the questions. They were like, "So, Abby, tell us this," and I'm like, don't like it this way round. It confuses my brain. So, so your stuff within TT, there's not been a great deal. However, you haven't done any Who.
No, I haven't, which is a breath of fresh air, to say the least. I mean, it's nice to be outside of Doctor Who for once. I mean, yeah, it's. I haven't thought about that actually. That's
Oh my
quite
god,
sad,
TT's hasn't got
actually.
Who. What the hell?
It's been brilliant though, not doing Doctor Who because on my own channel and stuff like that, I kind of only do Doctor Who, so it's nice to step outside once in a while.
I was saying this to Strax the other day, and I think I can't remember who was on the Zoom, but I think it was Dom and you and some other people. And it made me realise how little Who TT actually does. Because you went off on this massive span about Who, and me and Chelsea are there and like, yeah, okay, yeah, definitely know what you're on about, mate. Yeah, cool, yeah. You know.
Yeah, but
I'm
nice
the polar opposite of Chelsea though.
Mm.
Modern Who, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. I'm more of a like Fifth Doctor.
Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That stuff takes me in a bit more. But yeah, you're not Who on TT. And even the things I've cast you in, that's a lie. I've cast you in one Who, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So, you started TT Scarlet Lust.
Yes, Scarlet Lust. That was an interesting experience because I haven't really done much voice acting before that, at all really. I mean, of course TT was kind of the jumping on point, and that was a lot of fun. That I really enjoyed that because of course I had to die pretty much. Yeah, which
In
was
the arms of
not
Chelsea
something I've
Lavin.
done before. Yeah. Which is a fairly common occurrence on TT Productions.
That's true.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun dying, which is not something I've done before. But it was a lot of fun doing that Scarlet Lust. Yeah. And I'm glad I got the chance to be a part of it.
I think the thing that shocks a lot of people when they go within TT is the live recording. Like people either shit a brick or or they use it to their advantage. But I do kind of feel like it's not like you came in, done 2 scenes and that was it. You didn't have like this nice little intro in. It was like, right, so you're going to talk about sex with this girl you've never met. And then you're basically going to be eaten by a vampire.
Yes. Just an average Saturday, really.
Straight in at the deep end.
Yeah. It was interesting. It really was. It was a unique experience. I mean, obviously I've done more with TT now, which is just as brilliant. And yeah, I think the most daunting thing about that was being on a call with Chris Walker Thompson and people like really like have done voice acting their like entire lives, like entire careers, pretty much since my entire life, pretty much. I mean, like ever since I was growing up, I watched Chris Walker Thompson on YouTube,
Yeah.
and that was kind of the daunting thing about the first one. But as soon as you like enter the cool, it's it just immediately all the worries kind of go away.
Yeah, because
Uh, it is.
you had a scene with him as well, didn't you? If I remember rightly.
Yeah.
The dodgy priest.
Mm. Yeah, but overall it was once you kind of get into the cool for the first time, it's you get used to it really quickly. Like
Mm.
it's still terrifying, completely terrifying in a way. But in a kind of good way, like that kind of helps
Yeah.
at first. It helped me at first. Yeah, it was a new experience and it was great. Yeah, yeah,
I
it was
think
brilliant.
yeah, I completely get the whole, like, being nervous to start off with,
Mm,
but I do feel like this is another good thing about the live recording is we have that camaraderie, so you get all the one-liners and you get all the silly little jokes in there, and I
mm.
remember I can't remember if you so there's a scene in Scarlet Lust which was between Vaughn, who Brandon McCaffrey played, and Chris
Mm.
Walker Thompson, and he was in the confession box. And at the end of the scene, Chris just goes, "So just drop your trousers."
Yeah, I think I was there for that. I remember something like that happening. Oh, oh, what a cool that was.
Oh, but then as well, like, because because we do the practice runs first, and then we do
Mm,
the actual ones. And I've said this is one reason why I put you with Chelsea, because she's very much a veteran when it comes to this sort of stuff
mm,
now. And I remember her being like, "Right, when I struggle, you struggle," because she was basically stood behind you and pushing you into the chair, wasn't she?
mm.
And oh, I was so happy with that scene. Like, oh, go listen to Scarlet Lust. It needs more views. It's
I can
kind of
only echo
slipped
that sentiment.
it kind of slipped under the radar,
Mm,
purely because of the time of year that I put it out. But I'm hoping Halloween it kind of gets some more. So I will put a little cardy thing up here. I'm deliberately
mm.
pointing so I know when I'm going to put the cardy thing. Cardy thing, future Abby, for Scarlet Lust. So go check that out. Raz is in part 3.
Woo, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Lucas,
I'll share
Luca?
it again as
Yeah.
well. Luca,
Luke,
yeah.
yeah, Luca.
Yeah, I'll share it again as well around October time because it's a great time to listen to it. Like it's genuinely brilliant, really well written, really well just put together. It's amazing, amazing stuff.
I'll say this as well. We do have more Penny Dreadfuls lined up, but I've kind of learnt from my mistake. So the next Penny Dreadful will probably come out this kind of time rather than like April.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't
Mm,
supposed to. It's purely
mm,
because like Pat Gang started taking more priority, and everything
yeah.
got, you know what it's like, everything got shifted round. So that was the only place I could physically put Scarlet. And it was just like, yeah, sure, vampires in April. Woo.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
So leading on from that voice wise, R101.
I mean, I was in Tusks as info first. Was that
Yes.
before?
Yes,
That
it
was
was.
before.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like,
definitely.
I think
It
I want.
yeah, I love a bit of info.
Mm,
It's you only had one
I
season,
only had
Tusk's
one.
Tusk's
I mean,
one, but you are back.
it it was a lot of fun. I mean, I had to learn Cockney accent, which was just looking at YouTube videos and trying my hardest to get it right. Which,
Just
yeah,
get on a convo with me, mate. Just to sit here and study how I talk.
Mm. Yeah, and it was a lot of fun learning how to do Cockney because yeah, I mean some of my family are Cockney as well, and yeah, it was entertaining. It really was, and I loved playing info, just
The
fun
funny thing
character.
about the Tusk's cast
Mm.
is technically out of the leads, only one of them like George Shagaya,
Mm.
um, he's like Greater London. So out of a cast of
Mm.
like 6 main leads, he's the only one who should be out
Mm.
like native Cockney.
Mm.
Because obviously you've got Chelsea, and then Fetus, Josh. He apparently he's a Scouser with no
Mm.
Scouse accent, so that's interesting. I ask him daily where his accent is, and he doesn't understand why he hasn't got one. I
Mm.
wouldn't mind, but I've asked him if he could do Scouse, and he's like, no. I was like, how does that work?
I didn't even know he was Scouse. What?
Yeah, he's a
That makes
Scouser.
no sense
I
to me.
know.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, I
No
don't. I
sense
don't
at all.
understand it.
I mean, I'm as
But
south as you can really get, really. I come from around Hastings area,
oh
right
yes,
right near the southeast, yes.
yes.
Mm, yeah.
I'm on like the Surrey London border,
Mm,
so my accent is very messed up because I'm kind of because Surrey people are really posh. Surrey
mm,
people are very much like Charlotte Pollard, like,
yes.
and then obviously Londoners. So my accent is all over the shop. Like nobody can really place where I come from. It's really weird.
I mean, that must be great for voice acting, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Especially when you think the two like voices that I tend to do that are like impressions are Charlotte and Jenny Flynn.
Jenny,
So
yeah.
it's literally like I'm posh, then I'm not quite as posh.
Mm,
Um,
mhm, mm.
but no, Tusks is fun, and you're back in. There's 4 episodes of Tusks, and you're back in 2 and 3.
Ah, can't wait.
And I wrote 3, so that's fun. You get to
Yeah,
do a lot of snooping around in 3 in the sewers, so have fun with that.
I certainly shall.
Sewer snooping, Pick that off. Killed by a vampire,
Like a
sewer
vampire.
snooping.
Mm.
So next was R101.
Next, indeed, yeah, that was so heavy. It was because you mentioned being like terrified by like the first appearance, but I feel like R101 had a lot of emotional weight to it,
Mm,
so it felt more kind of integral to get it perfect, get it right, and it was it was a very respectful story and how it was told, and it was a matter of being quite it was quite daunting before joining the call, and then as soon as the call kind of happened, it was like it was perfect. It was kind of the perfect atmosphere, and I think that's due to the cast. They all were very accommodating, and
I
just
was
I
that
couldn't have
cast.
just
Oh Lord. At the moment, all the audios I'm doing at the moment, they seem to be like ridiculously good. Because I've been quite lucky because we've done our 101 and we've just done Molly 2.
Mm.
And both the casts for those, oh,
I mean,
chef
I can't
kiss.
wait to hear Molly too. That's gonna be brilliant.
That is a heavy audio. I will warn you now.
I can't
You
wait.
thought Molly 1 was heavy. Wait for Molly 2.
Oh no.
She's a
Oh, it's gonna be
tortured
brilliant.
soul, bless her. She's a
Mm.
tortured soul. I I c-
Mm.
I I can write like upbeat. I can, honestly. It's just a lot of the characters that I write aren't like
Mm. I mean, I quite prefer writing tragic, tortured souls and more depressing stories than actual,
it's more entertaining.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
the thing with Molly is it's very much written like before Vastra, and one of my old friends used to say that before Vastra is very much an emotional roller coaster with whiplash.
Mm.
There's like,
Sounds about right, yeah.
oh yeah, this scene's really oh no, there's a really nice scene. That
Mm.
means like a really bad one's coming. It's like I've noticed. So I've just finished writing Match Girls,
Mm.
and I've noticed that if I write a scene between 2 people and they're like, "Oh my god, you mean so much to me. I want to be friends with you for all my life." One of them is gonna fucking die, people. Like that's like the cue for me. Oh, ain't they
Mm.
sweet? Die! Like
Mm.
write it.
I think that's brilliant. I mean, it's a brilliant way to do things because, like, I love it when writers do that because I've noticed it a lot in media how like lines like that, like even like Rose and Ten and New Who, it's kind of like, oh, I'm gonna be with you forever, fucking dies.
Yeah.
Uh,
No,
and I,
it's
I
like
love it
pull
when
at
it
the
happens.
heartstrings and then
Mm. Hmm.
but no, you because you
Mm.
like you. you got to have the lovey-dovey moments as well.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's like swings and
Oh yeah, definitely.
roundabouts, swings and
Mm,
roundabouts.
for sure.
Hmm.
I think Arm 101 pulled that off quite well at the beginning. Like it was all it kind of balanced it out. Like it felt a very human story, I'd say. And it needed to be a very human story,
Yeah.
definitely, with what it was covering, a very real event, and how you kind of fleshed out those characters, and with like the more light-hearted scenes towards the beginning, and then it just all shit hits the fan,
Yeah.
and then someone turns it on, and then it
I,
just
I I remember seeing the cast's face when we were doing the premiere when
mm,
George gets sent up to the nose to drop some ballast, and you could see him climbing up the ladder, and everybody was just like, "Oh no, wait, it's that bit. Oh no, wait, it's that bit," and then the explosion happened, and everybody's just like, "Ah, yeah, that happens."
yeah. Yeah, the entire chat just went silent. I'll never forget that premiere. It was just it was an emotional roller coaster, that audio, and I'm so thankful to be a part of it, and I hope people check it out and
Yeah,
cry
they
as much as
yeah.
everyone else did. Yeah. Mm.
Like, I think the thing with R101 is, like, everybody likes a happy ending, but you can't with that. There was
Mm-mm. Oh,
no
definitely
way.
not.
That had to end on a low. Like,
Yeah.
I compared it to, so, like, I'm a theatre girl. I only live,
Mm.
like, 20 minutes from Waterloo, so I'm
Mm.
like, "Yay, theatre." And so there's 2 sort of shows in the West End. You got, like, the Anjays and, like, the Wicked, and you leave and you're
Mm.
like, "Yay, I'm all smiley and happy," and you leave with a massive grin on your face. And then you go see shows like Dear Evan Hansen,
Mm.
and you
Mm.
leave, you're like, "Why am I here? What is life?" That is R101.
I think when you mentioned that, Blood Brothers came to mind.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, that
yeah,
one. Yeah, I remember watching that when I was a kid. Just
yeah.
that ending. It's I feel like the sadder endings, the more tragic endings, stay in people's minds more than the happier ones.
Yeah.
Because that Blood Brothers ending, it's permanently up there for the rest of
But
my
there's a
life.
reason why that show has not stopped touring for years. Like,
Mm,
it's just continually on the go, and the fact that it has such a brutal ending
mm.
does make it, I do feel like it makes people it sticks in people's heads more.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel like even with going back to Doctor as an example, I mean, Torchwood Children of Earth, that's
Mm.
quite a I feel like that's brought up more than most media within anything as like the darkest show ever in Doctor Who especially. I mean, and it's memorable for that. It's completely sticks in your mind. I mean, I can list off tons of TV shows with happy endings, but nothing will compare to like how I felt during that or
It was
like
like
anything
whenever
like that.
anybody asks you, I mean, it does kind of have a happy ending as well, but
Mm.
when anybody ever asks you about a Donna episode,
Mm. Yeah, you always think about
Pompeii, like,
or like Adric. You
yeah,
always
yeah,
think about
exactly,
his
like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
splat. Adric splat.
Mm.
Sorry.
Nice.
Shows you how much I'm a Fifth Doctor fan. Adric
Mm.
splat.
Yeah. It is particularly interesting how like endings from like different forms of media kind of resonate with you and how emotional endings like sometimes TV shows can force a happy ending and sometimes that just doesn't land. Using Doctor Who as an example once again, that's kind of an ongoing theme with me. Is I mean I love this episode, I really do. But the fact that it forced a happy ending stuck with a lot of people was Love and Monsters, which
Oh
was the
god.
paving slab scene.
Oh god.
Yeah. I mean a lot of people I
I'd
feel like
love to know what they were smoking when they wrote that. I
I
really would.
I I unironically love it because just how bonkers it is. How like it genuinely is a very
I wanna know.
unsettling moment.
I wanna know what
Mm.
I'd love to know what the actors thought.
Yeah. I never really considered that.
I'm gonna track them down at a Comic-Con and be like, "So, paving slabs."
I'd love to. I can't remember her name, but I'd love to talk to the actress who plays Ursula, who played the paving slab.
Lonely
That'd be
Myrtle.
interesting. Oh, I'd
That
like
is
to
her
get.
name. She's
I'd
Lonely
get her
Myrtle.
to. Yeah, I could get her to sign a paving slab. Oh, no.
Walk into walk into the Comic-Con with a paving slab.
Oh, that'd
Oh
be
my god, I wanna
brilliant.
do it. I
I
wanna
mean, it'd
do
be
it.
quite easy to cosplay. You just get like a cardboard square and like cut out the face.
Like, spray your face
Mm,
grey. Oh my god.
mm,
Let's all
yeah,
do it.
that
All of
episode
us.
is my brand now. That is just it's become my brand on Twitter and
This is
YouTube.
true.
Wasn't my fault, but it is.
Purely by mistake.
It was Davis, Samuel Davis, who got
Why
me
is
on his.
nobody surprised?
Mm, he
Well, in
got me
all
on his
fairness, you
channel.
could have had
Mm.
two things. It's either the killer of Brian the Ood
Oh yeah.
or Lover
Mm.
Monsters Lover. So it could have been worse, dude.
Yeah, could have been worse.
And now Ten's here.
Every
Yeah.
everyone has pointed that out since I've moved to uni. Is that I don't realize I'm doing it. That a lot of my vocal patterns is similar to 10, to say the least. And every single person has pointed it out when I've moved to my uni house. I mean, even my sister pointed it out that I was doing it more now that I've moved to uni and I've been watching Doctor Who with mates, and I just can't really stop. It's just become a part of my uh what's the word? It's uh
Vocabulary.
vocabulary. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so that's happened now.
Go with it. Just embrace
Yeah,
it.
it's yeah. I certainly have. It's
The
mm,
saying about your so obviously Cockney for tasks and then your James Bond voice
yes.
for James.
Mm, yeah, I don't know why I chose James Bond voice, but it just seemed to fit.
It does
You know,
work.
it
I'm the
was very
valet.
posh. And, yeah, I hope to use that voice more often in future. I feel like a James Bond adaptation would be
Oh,
fun. That would be a lot
don't
of
tempt
fun.
me. Oh Lord, I'll get
I went
Chambers
and
to edit you
saw
on a cover with the like the little circle. Like,
Oh, that no, that would be brilliant. I
oh
mean,
my God, I'm gonna note
I've
that
got.
down.
I went and saw Skyfall the other day in cinema actually, in the IMAX, which was incredible because I saw that film when it came out 10
Yeah,
years ago, and it's one of those films that has just stuck with me. It's like that film. It's in my top 10 definitely of all time.
makes
I feel
sense.
like it's one of the best.
Who's your
And
favorite? Who's your favorite Bond?
oh, good question. I mean, I've got a connection towards Craig's, because obviously he's very much my generation's Bond
Yeah,
and
see, mine's
growing up
Pierce
with that.
Brosnan. That's my
Mm.
generation.
Especially, I feel like Pierce Brosnan is the most underrated, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I feel like he deserves a lot more praise. I know Goldeneye gets a lot of love, but the rest of them as well. I mean, I grew up with like my dad used to tell me about Brosnan and McCoy, like Sylvester McCoy, and he used to, like the bias at the time was very much, oh, it very is like he thought McCoy ruined the show at first. I thought Brosnan ruined Bond because that was what the general
yeah,
consensus
yeah.
was at the time. Until I myself tried him out, and I was like, well, actually, not really. I really enjoy Brosnan films. I feel like they were ahead of their time. I love Roger Moore in the role. Roger Moore is
Oh, you
and
can't beat the
Connery,
old school though.
Connery and Moore and Dalton. Can't believe I haven't mentioned Dalton yet. I feel like Dalton really brought that kind of seriousness back to the role that was needed. I'm glad because he was talking about it the other day. Not the other day. He was talking about it in a
So the other
documentary.
day,
Yeah, yeah. It was just general conversation with
Cash.
Timothy
Hello.
Dalton. Yeah. Um, Rassilon talking to Rassilon. It was
Cry.
a. Yeah, even though he only did two movies, he kind of brought that kind of edginess and seriousness back to Bond, which was what was needed after Moore. Because
Yeah,
Moore was great. He was brilliant in Bond, but he was in so many. the movies were kind of becoming a parody of
Copy
themselves.
paste, copy paste. Yeah,
Yeah.
you kind of figured it out before it
Mm.
had been figured out. It's like we're 10 steps ahead of you, Bond. Wake up, stop drinking.
Mm. And, of course, there was also what was his Lazenby, who was Bond for one film, and a lot of people mention his stale performance. I mean, I'm not. I, I like the film. I like him as
You like
Bond,
the
but
film, but acting,
yeah,
the
maybe not.
the,
Maybe
the
not.
story was good
Mm.
ish.
Can't beat Connery though.
No.
Nah. Mm.
I never thought we talk about Bond.
Yeah, well,
There you go.
it just happens, I suppose.
That's what I mean. We start off on TT and then we just kind of go off on a tangent, which is
Mm.
fine unless you have Jed on. Never say that word because then you do
Uh,
go off on a
I mean,
tangent.
I brought Ted. I brought Jed
Jed?
onto
Fuck is Ted?
some. We've mentioned some like Tangent and Jed, but I
Jed.
brought Jed onto a talk with, and genuinely brilliant guest. If you ever want a podcast, bring Jed on because you will.
Yes.
I mean, for me, like Jed and James Sutton,
Oh yeah, he's
bring
another
them
one.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
mean, I had
god,
to
yes. Spit it
with
up.
James, I had to split it up into two parts. It was like it was a 3 hour conversation. Well, almost 3 hours.
I
It was
because
brilliant, but
Jed has he's kind of done he's done like four or
mm,
five different podcasts in
mm.
in like 2 months. And I remember when I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna have Jed on," and then Aiden's like, "I've just had Jed on." And I was like, "Oh," and Jed's like,
Yeah,
"Everybody wants to talk to me at the
he
moment."
is the perfect podcast guest, as is James Sutton. They are brilliant.
Literally, I was
Yeah.
like, "Right, I'm gonna have to stop now because we've been here for nearly 2 hours."
Mm. Yeah, they're brilliant, and I really enjoy running a talk with. I imagine it's similar with TT conversations. Of course, TT conversations is about everyone in TT and everyone associated with TT. I imagine that's brilliant. I mean, it's a brilliant series to do because it kind of gives people that insight into you know how it all goes on and the people behind the well
Yeah,
TT.
it's purely to like get people's nosiness out of the way, you know?
Yeah.
Like how do they go about this? How do they go about that? Like how do they get cast in this? How do they get cast in that sort of thing?
Mm, yeah.
I don't actually think you've ever auditioned though.
I don't think I have. No.
No.
It just kind of happened.
You're one of the lucky few. Because
Yeah.
most people audition for TT, but you're quite lucky because I'm just like,
Mm.
Raz.
Yeah, I can't actually remember how I joined. I just think, you asked and I said, yeah. I
I
mean,
was like,
tasks.
I was like, I need a young lad, but I didn't want them to be as young as fetus
Mm.
because of the connotations of some of the
Yeah, in
lines
Scarlet.
in
Yeah.
Scarlet. So I didn't really want them to be like 15. So I
That's,
was
yeah.
like, who's the next? Oh, there we go, Raz. Hello. Would you like
I
to do
mean,
some voice acting?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what was it that you guys pointed out the similarities between me and Fetus recently? Was it that we sound alike
You
sometimes
sound
or?
alike when you're doing your Cockney accents.
Yes, that's true. I hope it didn't confuse people for tusks. That they sound very similar, but I think there's a few defining, different
Like
tones
when
and
you're talking
tastes for
normally, it's
yourself.
not as bad.
Mm,
But when you're both putting on Cockney accents, yeah, you sound kind of. I will admit I dropped your pitch a bit though,
yeah, I think that
ever so
yeah,
slightly,
it works. It works definitely to differentiate between the
purely
two.
because I was listening to it and going, ah, okay. I literally
Mm.
dropped it by like two. He is older man. He is lower voice. Two.
Mm. Uh,
However he works.
Yeah, and it really it was a really brilliant fun just jammy, just brilliant release at the end. The audio was great fun. Yeah, I love Tasks. It's a brilliant series. Mm.
The thing about Tusks is because obviously I've written episode 3,
Mm.
and it's not serious.
Mm. Yeah.
It's very different to this other stuff on our channel at the moment. It's very much
Mm.
aimed at, like it's aimed at CBBC,
Yeah, I
basically.
think you compare it to Dodger, don't you?
Yeah, Dodger and Sarah Jane Adventures is how we kind of, like, when we're trying to, like, get people to listen to it.
Mm.
Because that Dodger series, I'll say this now, right? Anybody who's not watched it, yes, it's meant for like CBBC. So it's meant for like the 10 to 16-year-olds. But it's
Mm.
really good.
Mm.
Like, it's really good. Christopher Eccleston's in it as Fagin, which is a part I never thought I'd see him play. But they've done, they've right, I'm not bigging myself up, but they've done a me and kind of, you know how what I've done with Jenny,
Mm.
and they've got this kind of character and they've kind of spread them out a bit more. They've very much done that with Fagin.
Mm.
They've given more depth to Fagin and Dodger, um, but they've made them less caricature and more like people.
Mm.
But yeah, Tusks is very much.
Yeah.
I can literally see Tusks on the telly shot like Dodger is shot, like hands down.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I haven't checked out Dodgy yet. I've been meaning to because it does sound brilliant. But I definitely get Sarah Jane Adventures vibes from it as well. I mean, I absolutely adore the Sarah Jane Adventures. I watch it annually. It's a show I very much love and always have. Um, I'm going to be watching it again soon because I'm introducing my friend to Doctor Who,
Oh
and
yeah.
we're doing New Who. So we're currently on Torchwood Series 1.
Oh lord.
Yeah, yeah. I
Oh lord.
we just got to Greek sparing gifts, and I had to give him a trigger warning for the monologue from Jack at the end. Uh, I didn't give him much warning for day one, which was an entertaining watch to see like all of my uni mates.
Stuff like that. I don't watch the telly. I'll watch
Mm,
their reactions to the stuff
yeah,
on the
I mean,
telly.
I showed them Love and Monsters, and I was waiting for that paving slap scene to just look over, and the look of shock, the look of unbridled shock. It's moments like that. It's what I live for, and it was just, it was. I should have recorded it. It was
Yeah.
just one of those moments that it would just stay up there, and just in like day one, just looking at like it was all my flatmates just sitting on the sofa, and I was just like, and there are so many scenes in that, so many, where everyone just burst out laughing, or like there was just a look of shock. And yeah, and then there was Cyberwoman, which actually went down really well. Cyberwoman,
Wonder
there
why.
wasn't really. Yeah.
No reason. No.
Mm.
Anyway, um, so the future within TT.
Mm.
So, my brain needs to turn back on because it's just turned itself off. 2 secs. What am I talking about? Oh yeah.
The
Um,
future of TT.
the future of TT. So you have been cast in 2 more roles.
Hmm.
Um, so you have been cast in the first episode of My Doctor, which is coming out next year,
Mm.
which I'm not going to say too much about, but you get to be a Cockney again, so whoop
Of
whoop.
course, yeah.
All I'm gonna say is my doctor is called Dickensian, and she's a flipping idiot. That's basically. And there's lots of mud involved, so that's that
Mm.
episode. I don't know what that says about me, but there you go. I love the fact you've gone from like
Perfect for
Cyberwoman to mud.
perfect for mud enthusiasts everywhere.
Yay,
Mm.
mud. Um, and the other thing that I've spoken about on other TT conversations is
Mm.
reanimated,
Mhm.
which
Mm.
I've actually been writing some today. Uh, so reanimated is basically zombies in the 1840s.
Mm. Always
So
a great pairing. Yeah.
always a great pairing. You get to pull out your James Bond voice again.
Of course.
You are playing Chelsea Lacon's twin brother because that's something we never thought we would see. There you
Mm.
go. Oh, but your character's lovely. So he's called Leon.
Mm.
Because obviously, so I've done something very unlike me. I don't normally do this. I've never done this. And I've cast all the leads before I finished the script, which is one
Mm.
reason why I'm so openly talking about it. Um, One, because I'm hoping to do 4 episodes, but I'm writing 1 episode, seeing how it does, and then writing more. I'm gonna do it that way instead.
Yeah, from what you've told me, I hope it gets more episodes because the ideas, the planning, it's just it sounds like a hit. It sounds like a brilliant
So
series.
your character is so sweet. So he's like this posh man who just pities the poor. He's the sort of geezer who would like be
The kind
behind the
of
counter at like a soup kitchen.
what's their name? The Christmas Carol. What's their name? The is it Fagin?
No.
Oh no. The employer.
Oh, Kermit the
Oh,
Frog.
yeah, Kermit the Frog. No. That's the employee. No.
Oh, his
Scrooge's employer from when he was young. Who held parties and was actually
yes. Yeah.
yeah
I
was
can't
actually
remember
one of
his
the
name.
nice ones towards the poor. It,
Yeah.
that one.
Basically,
Mm.
I can't remember. Oh, I know Christmas Carol. Why is my brain
Because
not working, man?
because Kermit was Bob
Yeah,
Cratchit.
he was Bob Cratchit.
It was. I'll get to it
You're
eventually.
gonna message me
I'm
like, is
just.
it random? But no,
Yeah.
he's very much the geezer who's like upper
Mm.
class but helping out the soup kitchen type. And your twin sister is very much the ew zombies everywhere type. So that'll be fun for you too, I'm sure.
Sounds like quite a double act. Can't wait.
Oh no, and so that's gonna be out beginning of next year after I've done Match Girls, basically. I
Mm.
can I can write stuff outside the 1800s, but why?
Exactly. Once
Why?
you
Who
found
doesn't?
that
Who
kind of
doesn't? Who doesn't want a zombie apocalypse
yeah, exactly.
at a time when men had handlebar moustaches and women wear corsets? You know, who doesn't
I've
want to?
learned so much about that time
Oh,
just from talking
don't!
to you guys. Like the lessons I've learned, I cannot unlearn. In some cases, that's great. In others,
We have Zooms, guys, and I have a habit of teaching this lot stuff that doesn't need to be taught about Victorian history. Need I say more?
yeah, and stuff that can't be unlearned.
No, but you'll be yeah, but guaranteed at some point in a pop quiz or some random point when you want to just be like random fact about Victorian people, and then they'll be like, "Why do you know that?" And he'd be like, "I don't know." Like it's very much me in most conversations. It's like, Abby,
I
why do you
look
know
forward to
this?
that day. Mm.
You'll be drunk.
Oh, definitely.
I once had a conversation about no, no.
Uh,
But I've said this before. I'm very much one of these people that enjoys teaching stuff to people, but I
mm,
like to do it without them knowing.
yeah.
It's like,
Mm.
why have I learnt this? Why not?
Yeah, I feel like that was particularly good in R101. That was woven in brilliantly. I've said brilliant a lot during this
It's
call.
brilliantly fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
No. So the rest of the cast of Reanimated are Vanessa. I can never say her surname. She played Molly's mammy in
mm,
Molly.
yeah.
And she's Imogen in Molly too. Fun fact. There you go. So the
Mm.
person who played Molly's mammy is also Molly's friend with a different accent in Molly too. So
Uh,
she's playing a nursing training called Abigail. We have Jed is playing a doctor called Charles, who I didn't even cast. He literally said to me, "Please, can I be the Victorian doctor?" And I was like, "Yes." It's like
that
the
is
thing.
perfect casting.
The thing is, because he's like an operating theatre doctor, so he
Mm,
literally stands there and like amuses a crowd while he's chopping
mm,
up a body, which
mm.
has just got Jed written all over it. Really, to be fair. What's this about Jed? Educating, but gross. Um,
Mm.
Sorry, Jed. Love you really, mate.
Mm.
And then your father is Ian Harris, who was in R101 as Adams,
Mm.
and your mammy is Katie Haynes, 13th Doctor from TikTok. She's only been in one thing for TT, and that's nearly a year old now. So I was like, I
Mm.
kind of need to get her back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've worked with Katie before. I mean, such a character.
She's
I mean,
brilliant.
she's the embodiment of a cartoon come to life. I know someone said that once, and ever since someone mentioned that description, it's just perfect.
I'll say
She's
this as
absolutely
well because
brilliant.
I've seen that woman in 3D
Mm.
a couple of times now. By that I mean she flew over to London and we met up.
Mm.
I saw her in 3D, and she's exactly the same in
Mm.
body. I remember we were sat at Starbucks and she was talking to pigeons, and I was just like, such a Katie thing. Like I'm just sat there like, what the hell? I love this queen, but she's brilliant. I'm really happy to have her back.
Mm. Yeah. I
Lots of
love the
exciting stuff.
I mean, I know a friend of mine, a flatmate of mine, loves The Walking Dead. Absolutely loves The Walking Dead
Well, that's
as a
what kicked
show.
all this off because
Yeah.
I was writing Match Girls, and then like when I stopped writing, I'd be watching Walking Dead, so my
Mm.
brain just went, hmm.
Mm. Yeah, and yeah, and I know you mentioned that was kind of an inspiration, and they love The Walking Dead, and they wanted to get me into it one day because I watched it up until I know it's quite a generic thing to say, but I watched it until like a certain point, like season 8, and
Oh
then kind of
damn! I'm only on like season 5, so
mm, yeah. I mean, no spoilers from me here, but great season. I mean, it's really great. I do love the show for what it was. I've been meaning to get back into it. Because I did give season 9 a shot, but I didn't really give it too much of a chance. So
I will say this: there are some moments because obviously, like I said, I'm currently writing. I literally just stopped writing,
mm.
reanimated to come do this TT conversation. There are some moments which are very much like
Mm.
inspired by certain scenes within the early stuff of Walking Dead. Easily.
Yeah, and I think that's certainly some of my favorite stuff, the early stuff, The Walking Dead, that's for sure. And it's great to get inspired by stuff like that and kind of inject that inspiration into work. Really, it's
Do you know, while we're talking about being inspired, uh, I'm going to do another little thingy up here, Fletcher Abbey. Supers on Overtons.
absolutely brilliant series.
People, please go listen to it. It's so freaking good, and nobody is listening to me, and it's really annoying because I really enjoyed that series, and people need to go listen to Supers over on Overtons,
I
please.
mean, honestly, I can say this now. Just check out all of Overton's original stuff,
Yes,
like because
yes.
they do absolutely fantastic Doctor Who stuff. But when their original stuff as well,
Time
it's
Travelers.
indescribably brilliant. It's just I love it all. And Connor is such a hardworking like producer and
It's such a
editor and
good channel.
voice actor. He's just but I'm trying to find another word that isn't brilliant, but
Brilliant.
they are brilliant. I can say
I'm
that
just gonna
like
put loads of brilliance on the screen. I'm gonna do a little
Uh,
counter. Bing,
mm,
bing,
oh Christ. Make it into a drinking game.
shot.
I mean, yeah, Connor's just such a hardworking audio producer and editor, and
All
yeah,
rounder. He's very
oh,
good.
yeah, then
I say he
I
all of
just
his
try
stuff
to,
needs more love.
yeah. I mean, Devlin that recently came out. I feel like that. Devlin, Supers, Time Travelers,
We've got
Crimson
new
Hunter.
Crimson Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah, uh, all of his Doctor Who stuff, pretty much. Just
Generally, it sounds really bad, but right. So I'm not a massive 13th Doctor fan. I don't
mm,
dislike her, but she's not one of my favorites. I won't watch it live, but I'll kind of sit down a couple of days afterwards and then kind of watch it when I
mm.
get around to it. It'd be one of those. But I remember Crimson Hunter, and that came out on the same day for trailers, and I was more excited by Crimson Hunter than I was by Jodie. I don't know what that says
Uh,
about me, but there you go.
God, I've got that photo of me and Jodie right there actually, and it's proper like Jodie's great. I mean, she's very much like Katie in that she's a cartoon. She's essentially a cartoon comes to life. She's brilliant. And it was at a convention, her first convention, that I met her for a photo and an autograph. And it was like my first photo at a convention as well. So I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
My sister had gotten into my head. She was telling me, "Oh, you got to think of a pose. You got to think of what you want to do," and that was in my head for the next like day or two. And then I go in there, and she just wraps her arm around me, and I'm like, "Do I do a pose? What the fuck am I supposed to do?" And like I
So
tried to,
scared.
and in that moment, I tried to smile, but I accidentally bit my lip while smiling while the photo was taken, and it's like it gets caught. And I don't know if you can see this, but this is my facial expression. I,
Like,
just pure
like a deer in
unbridled shock.
headlights.
And it's like one of my
Oh my
it's one of my favorite photos for that reason. I mean, I've got a history of just that actually happening. Like I met Jenna Coleman, and the exact same thing happened.
Oh
Like
no.
but it was worse. It was so much worse. Like this is a photo of me and my family with Jenna, and my dad told me to smile while I was in the queue, and I tried to force a smile to this. So yeah.
Oh bless you.
I mean, everyone that I didn't think about, everyone that I didn't really, you know, I haven't really, put much thought into. It's turned out great. Like this is me and Colin. I
Oh, that's
kind of
cute.
that's a great photo. I think I love Colin. I've got one with Sophie and Sylvester up there, but yeah. I mean, that's a those are some fun stories. But it's some of my favorite photos for that reason, because like you can't recreate that. You can't like those moments, very human moments of just pure panic.
What do I
Yeah. Uh,
do?
I'm hoping the same thing doesn't happen when I meet Matt Smith in November.
Oh, you going there to that one?
Yeah, I want to meet David Tennant as well.
I
Cause
really wanted to get my kid tickets to see
mm,
David Tennant, but he's
yeah,
asked for a laptop for his birth for Christmas. So I'm like, I can't really
mm,
get him a laptop and meet David Tennant.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Maybe in a couple of years, because he'd lose
mm.
his shit.
I actually
Absolutely lose it.
I actually almost met him recently, David, because I went to the BFI event for Inside Man.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he was there on the panel with Stephen Moffat, and it was like I saw him walking out. He was walking down the corridor, and he was just doing his thing, surrounded by guards and paparazzi and all that. And then he walked down the corridor, and I thought, well, I missed him. I ran around, saw the after party was going on upstairs. I saw them getting all their photos taken. Thought, it's not really likely. They went away, missed my chance. I was walking down the stairs, and these autograph hunters recognized me, which was it was a strange experience because they were carrying all their cameras and such, and like all
Oh
their
Lord.
autographs ready to like the ones they're ready to sell and such. And I was like, "Oh, I know you from YouTube. Follow us if you want to meet David." And then they took me down to like the basement exit, like the stage door, pretty much. Not outside the stage door, but
Yeah,
like in the inside bit. And then I accidentally stood in front of this woman and this other autograph hunter, and she was like, "Oh, get out my way, you're just in front of me." Okay, okay, if it's just an accident. Nice." And then when David came out, he didn't choose to sign, which is completely fine.
fair. Yeah.
And then I understood the reason when she shouted, "Oh, you never sign, do you, David?" As loud as she possibly could in the most like angry voice ever, and everyone was like, "What the
Oh my
fuck? Like, what?
god.
No wonder he never signed stuff. People like you are here." And like she was one of those people that you could just tell was there just for monetary gain. Like she wasn't there because she liked
Likes
David
him,
stuff.
yeah.
And
Just
then
wanted to set it on.
I ran round to the front of the stage door to see if I could catch him walking out into the outside world. And he hadn't exited yet. And when he did, he was signing stuff. It was very crowded. It was signing stuff. And I handed him my picture and he grabbed it. I tried to hand him my pen, but then he didn't grab the pen, and so we didn't have a pen to sign it. And then he
Oh
handed it back and walked
no.
into the car. So I was this close. But
Oh no.
next time I'll get him next time. But I don't think I like that wouldn't be ideal because it wasn't personal. It wasn't a personal experience.
No.
It was
Rushed.
very cold,
Stage door.
literally and relatively. Yeah.
Very stage door.
Mm, yeah. Oh well. Yeah.
See, I've not ever I've met like people at Phantom Films, but I've never had
Mm.
like pictures taken. Like I've met Sarah oh my god. That was like a bisexual girl's dream, meeting Sarah Sutton. Like, so when I first went, I met Sophie Aldred and I was like, oh my god, I'm meeting Sophie Aldred. And I met her and I was like, oh. okay, cool, yeah. But when I
Mm.
met Sarah Sutton, I was just like, oh lord, oh lord,
Mm.
oh lord, oh lord. And then she was like, I've drawn this lovely picture. Would you like it? And I'm like, yes, please, yes, 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 would, yes, please, yes, yes. It's on my
Oh
bedroom
wow.
wall. She drew the Melka,
Ah yes.
and she's drawn it in like a leafy forest and stuff. And it's
Cool.
really pretty. And it's up on my bedroom wall. But I said, yes, 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 okay, please, yeah. And she
Mm.
signed my because I'm one of these people that I won't buy Big Finish CDs unless I
Mm.
really, 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 really like the audio. So I bought Cradle of the Snake because the
Mm.
Mara, and because
It's a great audio.
Nissa,
It's brilliant.
Nissa, right? No, I'm just gonna say it because fuck it. Nissa gets taken over by the Mara, which is
Mhm.
hot. I'm sorry, it's hot. So I was like, please, Sarah Sutton, please sign this
I
audio where you're hot. Uh, please, 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 please. And as well, another thing, Phantom Films, guys. Phantom Fields. So they meet in like a Chiswick church hall, and it's
mm.
so small and it's so personal and it's lovely. It's usually classic. They have had Arthur Darvill. They have had Arthur Darvill. They have had some of the newbies, but most of the time it's classic people. But I took Noah to meet Sylvester, and he signed a picture for him that he's got up on his bedroom wall, but he also had a Sylvester McCoy toy,
Mhm.
and Noah was holding it and raising his arms up and down, and Sylvester's going, "Stop it! No, stop it!" And then of course Colin was there. So Colin being Colin, because Colin saw that
Colin.
Sylvester was getting all this attention, so he came over and started dancing with Noah. So my 7-year-old son has had a boogie like this with Colleen Baker.
Consider me jealous.
It was I haven't got any video evidence because obviously you can't
Yeah.
have your phones out and stuff. But oh my god, I'm never gonna let my child live that down. But then I
Mm.
made the mistake of saying to Colin, oh because at the time I was doing lots of TikToks. I've kind of fizzled
Mm.
away from that because TikTok, you put all this effort in, especially the cosplayers, you put all this effort in, and then you get like 20 likes. And I'm like, why did I just spend half an hour making my hair blonde? Like, what was the, you know?
Yeah.
I said to Colin, I cosplay most of your companions, including the audio ones, because I
Mm.
I cosplay Flip Jackson and Mrs. Clark and obviously Charlotte Pollard from the audios, and Bonnie. Bonnie Langford was sat beside him. Oh, do you cosplay me? No, but you're on my list. She wasn't on my list. No, you're on my list.
Ah,
You want me to sign something? I have nothing for you to sign.
can't imagine how awkward that must
So
have been.
funny. And then
Yeah.
Colin's there because he'd signed I can't remember what he'd signed something. He signed my last adventures and he was like,
Mm.
oh, don't be silly, she can sign this. And then I got a free Bonnie signature on my
Oh, that's
last
cool.
adventures. And I was like, oh, happy days, thank you. Cheers, guys. That was nice. Yeah, they're really good, those. If you get a chance
Mm.
to go to them, they're lovely.
I mean, I went to Bedford Who Comic Con, which is a a lovely convention. I believe Miranda Rainson, who played Constance, was there. She doesn't
Yes, I've
do.
seen the video footages. I
Yeah.
was very jealous.
I had a lovely experience there because uh so there was a moment because I go to like uh these conventions wearing my own doctor's outfit and stuff like that, which is brilliant when I'm meeting these actors and celebrities, if you will, because obviously if you go to in your own kind of uniform, you'll be kind of recognized in a way
Yeah.
because it's something different, you know. But like it was at like Bedford, and they didn't have any people to pass the mic around. So when asking questions, when there was at like the panels, so they got Sophie Aldred came down and asked questions to people, and I had my Doctor outfit on at the time, and I had a Sonic, like a custom working Sonic at the time, which obviously was it's always a great conversation starter at these events and such. Which it was broken at another convention,
Yeah, I
which
know about
yeah,
that.
which I won't bring up because I don't want to be don't want to get into any trouble with that. But it was like and Sophie came out to ask me a question, And my question was about the album Doctor in Distress, because Colin was up there, and I asked the rest of them about like Burnout and stuff, and then I asked Colin specifically about Doctor in Distress, and because it recently, very recently, been deemed the worst charity album of all time, and so I asked him about it and whether he has any opinions on it and that, and it was very nice moment, and Sophie was just standing beside me for all of it, and then he didn't know who was on the album. I had the vinyl in my bag, so I just brought the vinyl out very slowly, and Sophie grabbed it, brought it onto stage, and then they all started talking about Doctor in Distress
Oh
while
my
looking
god.
through who was on it. And then later on in the day, I went up to Colin. We got in the queue, and I went up to Colin with the vinyl in my hand, and I got him to sign the Doctor in Distress album. And then I got him to sing that bit of
Yes,
Doctor
yeah.
in Distress, which was in the cover on my channel. But not but before that, I mean, there is nothing more terrifying than waiting in the queue about to ask Colin Baker to sing Doctor in Distress for you. And then when I got there and he asked like how to spell my name, because I couldn't pronounce my like H's, because H is H. I don't even know the one I gave now, but and then he started interrogating me about my alphabet, and then like my mind just went completely blank because I've just went from Doctor in Distress to thinking about the
The
alphabet
alphabet.
and how to pronounce it. And he was asking like what letter comes after that, and I was like, and then I said the wrong letter as the camera, like a cameraman who was recording the event, came over at that specific moment, and it was insane. It was actually insane, and like I've met Colin 5 times this year. He's the Doctor I've met the most now, just because of this year. And
Yeah.
I'm meeting him again at LFCC, and I will definitely go have a conversation with him as I do. And Sophie, I'm always talking to Sophie at these conventions as well, because it's more of a long time no see moment rather than,
Yeah.
which is always lovely, you know. And same with Colin as well. It's always I just have chats with him at this point,
Yeah,
which
but that's it's nice when you have that level. Like,
mm,
but to an extent,
yeah.
like you still have like the love and respect for them. You're
Oh
not
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
like, but no, I love Miranda. She's up there with Sarah for me, just saying.
Mm. And
It's
you
one
mentioned
reason
so
it's one reason why I enjoy oh no, the Dalek episode,
yes, Daleks in Manhattan,
Manhattan.
Evolution of the Daleks.
The
Yeah.
only reason why I watched that is because of Miranda. Just saying.
Yeah, that's fair. But
Yeah.
like you also mentioned like Sophie Aldred, she gave me like the best Comic Con experience recently, and it was like after the Comic Con had finished. So like it was I'd met her and talked to her, and it was like long time no see. How are you? How's things going? We talked about podcasts for a bit, which is kind of fitting for this conversation. But uh yeah, it was just a nice conversation. And after the convention, I was walking towards the train station, and then suddenly I tripped over someone's luggage. I They were like putting their suitcase behind them, a bright yellow suitcase. I tripped over it and I said, "Oh, sorry." And then they said, "Oh, sorry." And then that's Sophie Aldred's voice. And it was Sophie Aldred just walking down the street and said, "Oh, hello." And she said, "Hello." And then kept walking. And then and it was we were going towards the train station because for LFCC the train station's like right outside,
Yeah.
just and then like it was ooh, yeah, sorry, you froze there for a second. But yeah, it was Sophie went to the other side of the station. Like there were two platforms. Sophie was on the other side, I was on that side. And as Sophie's train was coming, she just let out the biggest wave, and I let out the biggest wave back.
Oh
And
bless.
it was it's
Oh, she's
moments
lovely.
that I just yeah. She was genuinely so lovely because at Bedford, it was 2 days before the centenary trailer. So it was 2 days before we
Ah,
found out that
yeah.
she was so she had to keep that a secret. But yeah, we had that conversation at LFCC, which was fun.
Like,
Mm.
you're saying about the centenary. I realised the other day that, like, around about the time that they were filming the centenary, Janet tweeted because somebody said to her, "Would you like to come back to Doctor Who?" And she tweeted, Oh, I'd love if I got the chance to come back to Doctor Who, I'd want a gun and I'd want to show the world who's boss. And I
Mm.
kind of feel like that was Janet being like, I got to play with a gun today.
Yeah. I can't.
Hint, hint,
I
nudge, nudge.
I genuinely can't wait for Tegan to come back. That's gonna be brilliant.
Like, uh, don't get me
Brilliant.
like, Sophie's
Mm.
been saying yes for years.
Mm.
So eventually that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's only like in recent years that Janet's been like pro Who.
Mm.
And I think when she came up on the screen, I think everybody was in a little bit of a shock. Like, because you heard her voice first and it was just like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Mm.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Seriously? Like,
I mean, I really want Nissa back. That's all I want. I want Nissa.
even if they just have one throwaway
I
line,
just want them to be together. Is that too much to ask?
I really hope this hasn't messed up that whole like goodbye Sarah Jane thing.
Mm. Yeah, because that would be,
Because in my
yeah.
head canon, because whenever I bring this up, because they're always like, you're a big finish and all this stuff, because right, so there's the big finish where because Nissa comes back
As
older.
an older, yeah, yeah.
So, but for them, it's like the day after Enlightenment for Five, Tegan, and Turlo. So
Mm.
it's only been like days for them. And for Nissa, it's been like 30 years.
That is probably one of the most interesting ranges
It's
on Big Finish.
such a
Highly
good
recommend it.
idea. It's such a good idea. But basically, all this stuff happens, yada, yada, yada. And then she does a Nissa and leaves herself in a completely different dimension. Won't go into too much details. And whenever anybody says to me, so how did they get together again? And I was like, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Have you ever seen the episode Turn Left? Well, there's an audio because they say they lived in Australia. There's an audio called The Butcher of Brisbane,
Yep. Yeah.
which is in that older Nissa stuff. Stuff happens. She's not older Nissa anymore, but that's complicated. So, um, it's really confusing. So she's not like 90 and Tegan's like 20. That's like gets that out of the way. Because Trakanite people. But in my head canon, at the end of that episode, Tegan's like, do I go or do I stay in Brisbane? Do I go back with the doctor or do I just stay here? And in my like turn left head canon, her and Nissa in one universe stay behind.
Well,
And
I'm
that's
yet
how
to
that's happened.
tell you what. I'm yet to listen to the 10th Doctor Classic Companions recent box set. I've been meaning to, but I hope it's mentioned. I really hope it's mentioned.
Spoilers.
Because I know in Big Finish originally she was in a relationship with a man, I believe, Nissa.
Yeah,
It's like
she
circular
she
time.
has she has she has two children.
Circular time and all that, but
Oh
that could
my
be
god,
unwritten easily.
circular time.
I love circular time. It's
I've
one of
done
Big
some of that
Finish's
audio on
best.
TikTok,
Mm.
and it's old now. It's old people, but basically, Nissa loses her virginity in this audio, which is hilarious because it's in a bush, and Five walks in on her, and she's putting her clothes on, and the Fifth Doctor's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And this is like, "Stargazing." He's like, "But there's lots of trees." It's
Well,
just so good.
I mean, as long as it wasn't in the TARDIS, no hanky panky in the TARDIS.
No, we
But
don't do hanky
in a
panky in the
bush,
TARDIS.
sure.
Yeah, the bush is all right.
In a bush, that's all
Not
right.
in the
That's
TARDIS. When you do it
uh...
in the TARDIS, messed up things like River Song happened, people. Come on, you don't do it in the TARDIS.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very, very good point.
Why don't we do it in the TARDIS? Well, this is Alex Kingston. She's in Dodger.
Yes, I know, but
And I did not realise. I had to pause the telly. Because obviously I feel deeply for the match girls, the match girl strike and all that stuff. And she plays a match girl with Fozzie Jaw. So she's got like all this, I can't say the word. Stuck onto her face makeup.
prosthetics.
Yes, I can't say that word. Which is great when I no SFX makeup. Um,
Mm.
because
Mhm.
she's got all this stuff stuck onto her face to make her look like she's got Fozzie's jaw, and I didn't realise it was her.
Mm.
It's so
Yeah.
good.
It's amazing when that happens because someone pointed it out recently, but Trapped, the caretaker in Trapped is the same actor as I'm going back to Love and Monsters again, but Mr. Skinner in Love and
Yes!
Monsters. And it's like my entire childhood, for the most part, was owned by Mr. Skinner.
Don't know what
Which
that says.
yeah. It was like I loved Traps as a kid. I mean, it wasn't my go-to show. Saying that now, it wasn't really my, it was whenever it was on, it
It's
was on. It was
iconic
brilliant.
though.
It's
It's
iconic. Oh
iconic.
yeah, and terrifying for a
Oh
child.
yeah.
There were some really terrifying TV shows for children back then.
Yeah.
I mean, like Sarah Jane Adventures being one. That
Yep.
fucking clown.
Oh
It
my
gave me
god.
nightmares for 6 years.
Child friendly.
6 years he gave me nightmares. Bradley
Bradley Walsh.
bloody Walsh. That's another one I didn't realize until like I was older. Bradley Walsh was the bane of my like nightmares, bane of my existence for 6 years. And
Meanwhile,
then
laser
like,
shoes.
mm,
Laser
hmm.
shoes.
But the trickster wasn't that terrifying to me as a kid. I don't know why. It was just the clown. Like there was the Nightmare Man that wasn't that terrifying. The trickster, even though they are terrifying in their own rights. Trickster. I mean,
Do you know
um,
the only
well,
thing
but
that
the
scared
clown.
me as a kid in
Mm.
Doctor Who, and I'm still not okay with them, is the clockwork droids from Fireplace.
Mm.
I have no
Yeah.
ticking clocks in this house, and that
Mm.
has been done deliberately. Like when they come back in Deep Breath, I don't have an issue with them, but for
Yeah.
some strange reason, they scared me. I don't know why. I don't know why. Because that was like
Mm.
early David Tennant, so you were probably about what, two?
Oh wow! I mean, I was born in 2003, so I would have been. So that was 2006, so I would have been around three.
2006, yeah. So I wasn't far off, huh?
You weren't that far off. I'll give you that. But
Yes, but the thing is, I joined the Navy in 2006, so I could go to war, but
mm,
clockwork droids scare me.
mm, I know. Yeah, I can't. I've not really been terrified by Doctor Who growing up. It was always just that fucking clown, Oddbob the clown. That was the
I get you.
only thing from all of it, from the entirety of the show, and all of them. That was the only thing that kind of, terrified me. And, every other monster and everything is terrifying in its own right. They're all terrifying for obvious reason, but
But
that
not
clown,
like, yeah.
not like, there was just nothing truly as lasting an impact. And I'm not as scared of him now as I was when I was 8, 10, 12, up to around 13, 14, 16,
16
19.
last week.
Mm. Yeah, but I can rewatch the episode now. It's just as a kid, it was just always just absolutely terrifying.
Noah's thing is the silence.
I
They,
can understand that.
they scare
Mm.
him, which I get.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
understand that for sure. I mean, I get why people are terrified of the Weeping Angels, but they're not terrifying to me, to be honest. I love the stories. Stories are some of the best,
See,
but
I thought they were good until um the Flux stuff.
I quite liked Flux with the Weeping Angel episode. I thought that was the best of
Yeah.
Jodie's, in my opinion. Well, one of the best.
Um, I think the thing that annoyed me with that was how quickly it was resolved in the next episode.
That was the annoying bit. That was the only bit that, yeah, I don't think that's any fault to the actual Whipping Angel episode on its own right, but
Mm.
it's the cliffhanger that it's one of Doctor's best cliffhangers in my view.
Yeah, it's true. Everybody spoke about it,
For that
but
to be,
That's why it annoyed me. How it was
yeah,
just like the episode's done now. You've had your shock factor. Everything is fixed.
yeah,
Like, oh,
it's
great, cheers.
yeah, it just wasn't. You could have had a Doctor Light episode.
Yeah,
I felt like 2 more episodes of Flux and it would have been perfect.
they cut it
But
down though, so maybe there would have been more. But
yeah, I know, but with the pandemic, it was supposed to be an original, like it was like supposed to be originally a 10 episode
10 episodes.
series, which, it would have been a much more subtle arc as well, which I don't agree with it being a subtle arc. I would have preferred just 10 episodes, like bombastic as it was, but with more just more. I feel like even if it did have 4 episodes, though, feel like I feel like it would have just had the same formula for those 4 episodes as well. They would have kept on
Yeah,
adding more and more and more, and it would have just. But at the same time,
kerfuzzled.
I would have loved those 4 episodes nonetheless, even if they were a similar formula.
What did you think of, as we're on about 13 at the moment, what did you think of the Sea Devil episode?
Well, I love the 13 Yaz stuff. I always, for some reason, when I first joined the Dotsu community, I was quite like, I don't know what I was. I was a bit of a prat, not gonna lie. I say a Brit. I
A
was like,
bit of a brat.
no, and I was like making memes at the time, like like I wasn't like really for Phasmin back then.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why. Because now I'm avidly for it. I do like their relationship.
See, as the token bisexual, like kind of feel like it's been a little bit forced. It
Mm,
didn't seem to fall natural, and I personally don't feel like it needs to be there. But
I
that's
can
just
see
my
that.
own opinion,
I
you know?
think I think even like even looking back at all that and like even like no, I like the relationship and I like where it's even though it's a bit too late. I feel like it means a lot to a lot of people and it's not my
Yeah,
right
yeah, I
to
know. I
kind of
completely get that. I completely
like
get that it's
oh
got
yeah
new people into Who, which I
yeah
thoroughly love.
oh
I love that concept. But
yeah
as a
but
as a long-term Whovian, I'm not anti it. That's not it at all.
yeah
It's just I don't feel like it naturally sat.
mm,
You know.
yeah I completely
Yeah.
see that
What
view.
did you think of the Sea Devils?
Now that's the thing. I think like yeah, it was great having them back. And I mean everyone the prosthetics were brilliant.
Oh
I'll,
Lord,
I'll
yeah.
say that the prosthetics were brilliant
He has to
before
say that
James
because I can't say that word.
before James Sutton kicks down my door.
It was very good.
The prosthetics were brilliant. I'll say and I do uh it's a strange one because there were good moments. It was an enjoyable episode. It was perfectly harmless. I'll say that.
I think the thing,
But
like the concept for me, it
mm,
worked, but it wasn't edited very well.
yeah, the editing was awful. I
I
mean,
feel I feel like it was edited
especially
by
the
like
opening.
a year one student.
Mm.
Hands down. No offense to year one students.
Yeah, I feel like the editing was very poor. Like one thing could be happening, and then suddenly they're all prepared for this scene. Like it's
Yeah,
like when they trapped that sea devil in the opening, we didn't see them set up a trap or anything.
it's just
Like there
happened.
was nothing. There was nothing that indicated that was about to happen. And I feel like that might be the BBC's fault, more than
Cut
the
in.
editors.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, it was a perfectly harmless episode. I mean,
It was
uh,
fun.
I vastly enjoyed Eve of the Daleks more.
Oh
I
my
loved
god, I really love Sarah. Like,
I loved Eve. I mean, you know, Eve is probably the most. It's I talked to Mandep about this at the Comic Con where she was at, but it's an episode that's I consider very important to me, Eve, because it's very important for a lot of people for obvious reasons. But it was obviously aired on New Year's Day,
mm,
which is the day that I lost someone very important to me.
hmm,
So it was kind of that Dot 2 episode that was there when I needed it the most.
yeah,
And it's
definitely.
a very much a comfort episode. Like it's peak comfort. It's like it's nothing but comfort through and
I
through.
think the thing that makes people like Eve so much is it's very much written like a Russell T Davis episode.
Mm,
It's very much tongue in cheek because you've got that Sarah character to be your iconic Irish girl and be like, I'm
yeah.
going to make a silly comment right now because
Mhm.
that's the way that works. But no, I think the only thing that got me with that episode, because I would like you, I very thoroughly enjoyed it, was Dan going up to a Dalek with a box.
I mean,
It felt like Luke Lane, you know, when
mm.
he attended Dalek tracks. And I will say this now, Luke is fantastic. Like I love his Dalek work. But whenever he never records live because he puts it through a filter.
Mm.
Um, but so he'll send in a track and halfway through the track he'll just be improvising. Like when I edited City of the Daleks, there was this whole thing about Daleks having affairs and all this stuff, and you've been sleeping with Doris, and I don't like Doris, and there was this whole thing, and I feel like when that scene with Dan is like, "We do not own boxes," or whatever the line
Mhm.
was, and I just felt like I was watching Luke Lane, like, muck around with a filter.
Mm. Yeah.
Luke
Yeah.
Lane, everyone.
Mm. And I mean, yeah, it's such a good episode. I mean,
Is
I
it
feel
brilliant,
like
Rory?
it's absolutely brilliant. I loved that moment between 13 and Yaz. I think
Mm,
you know, the fireworks and everything, but the music in that scene, it was like that scene in itself was it gave me so much joy on a day where um you know the darkest well possible yeah experiences and life
yeah,
defining days, but that moment where they shared that look and the music kicked in, the music in particular left that scene was so much like it was so joyous and something that I needed to see. You know,
yeah,
it's like Doctor Who was it's always been there for me since the day I turned 3, but even before that. Uh, and it was there when I needed it the most. And I feel like there's something poetic about that in a way.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's what that episode kind of did for me and still does for me. But I think Nick kind of takes it out, but because he's a bit of a. But I also kind of find that funny because he's very strange, very strange. But it's almost too strange. But
we love
you
that.
know,
Embrace
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
So,
Mm.
is there anything else you want to bring up about TT?
Um,
Going back to the original subject of this
of course,
podcast.
yes. GT conversation. Let me think. Well, we've mainly discussed all the roles I've had
Mhm.
in TT and the future of TT, and I mean it's brilliant atmosphere, brilliant people, just overall really brilliant,
Brilliant.
absolutely brilliant.
This TT
Mm.
conversation brought to you by Brilliant.
Yeah.
Right, so thank you for drawing. Try that again. Oh Lord, right. Thank you for joining me, Rory. So my next guest is Ian. Was it Ian?
Yes, it was Ian.
Oh Lord. My next guest is Ian Harris. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Thank you. Goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.